I think Warren, who knows how to pick a company, knows what's the engine room of a company. What's the most important thing, he says, is it's not product, it's not AI, it's not the engineering, it's customer delight. And everyone in this room that works in customer success or customer experience, whichever word you want to give it, is ultimately accelerating delight. You are the value engine room of a company. And if you ever go back to your manager in your company and they're taking out people from this part of the office, just show them the Warren video and they'll understand that, they're pretty much ripping the heart of the company. The acceleration of delight can only be done through extreme customer experience, which customer success teams are, grappling with, dealing with, and delivering every day. So it is a very, very high value driving company. That's why I was very excited. And at Resonate, my marketing team won't be happy if I don't put a pitch for us. We're the fastest growing G2 customer experience platform. We're sort of the humble Australian company that's gone global, and not many people have heard of us, but we're so proud of the product and the experience that we built. And we're helping not only companies in Australia, but now globally, drive value, gain market share, and reduce churn. And that's exactly what customer success teams do. So thank you for being here. I'm Mita, CEO and co-founder here at Resonate. Also a mother of 2 crazy kids. And I stumbled into customer experience because they never really taught it at school. They taught finance and marketing and all these dinosaur subjects, and they just missed customer experience. So I was like, what's this thing that we haven't heard about, the conductor of the orchestra? You can have a good violinist, but if you don't have that, very similar to customer, that orchestration, you don't have any music being played. So I got really into the space, and it's 10 years helping organizations, delight their customers, drive value.
How do you measure the success of your customer experience initiatives, and what metrics do you prioritize to gauge that, satisfaction and loyalty? And what do you think companies forget to incorporate when they implement CX programs?
Okay, big one for me, and I'm going to be a bit controversial. I get asked all the time, which metrics do you want to implement? And there's always a fight at the beginning. Some people like NPS, some people don't like it. They like CSAT. Of all the years that I worked deeply, I actually like NPS, and I'll tell you why. The question sucks, to be honest. Would you recommend this to your family and friends? And there's a lot of sarcastic responses, like, why would I recommend this to my family and friends? Why would I not? But actually, the beauty of NPS doesn't lie in the question, it lies in the scale. And it's the most unfair scale in the world. So only 9 and 10 are green, and everything else is not green. And you'd say, hey, that's so unfair, because giving service levels at 7 and 8 is also good. But let me put it to you this way. If you're looking for a metric in which you want to gauge, will our customers be our sales teams without paying them $1 of commission, you need to deliver an experience that is 9 or 10. So think about it. I've just come back from America and I've stayed at a hotel. And if that hotel was to give me a 7 or 8 experience, and my auntie runs in and she says, Mita, what did you think of this hotel? I go, oh yeah, it's good, but shop around, it's pretty good, but shop around. But I'm not being that active salesperson for that brand. I'm sort of saying it's okay, I'm satisfied, but I'm not putting my backside on my line, because my auntie, if she comes back from a bad trip, I'm never going to hear the end of it. So I'm not putting my social currency on the line. However, if that hotel was to drive a 9 or 10, that's why it's so punishing. Then I'm going to know that when my auntie comes back, I can put my backside, my social currency on the line and say, you've got to go to the Disney hotel. It is so amazing. Trust me, don't even think of anything else. And if a brand can get to this point where a customer becomes your salesperson, that's when the magic begins. And that's why that metric is so punishing. And that's why any brand that strives for that green in only the last 2 boxes tends to beat market expectations, tends to get market share, because what we are telling customers to do is don't get paid commission, just get social kudos. And they're only going to do that if they're damn well sure that you're going to come back and give them a hug. So that metric is very powerful if you want to drive revenue. But in certain circumstances like complaints and stuff, you never want to recommend that on anyone because it's a bad experience. So CSAT is really suitable in my experience for those types of experiences that are a returning of a shirt, a complaints in a banking environment. However, if there's one metric or organization, the punishing one is the one worth striving for. Yeah. And probably the last thing you asked, what do organizations get wrong? Well, they don't get senior leaders across some of these basics. Senior leaders look at it as a metric, they move on, they're like, I'm getting my, bonus based on this, but they don't understand the power of driving the metric, how it drives their core metric of revenue. So really that education piece is missing at the top of the organization in my opinion.
Which is, how do we effectively demonstrate the impact and value of customer interactions and excellence to cross-functional teams? And I'm sure there's many of you out there that are rallying for yourself and for customer experience often. So I'd love to know more about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think the thing is, we get to work on this a lot with the customers that we work with because you can't get them to understand customer experience because it is a new kid on the block and they're like, yeah, nice buzzword, where's the money? And so the interesting thing is, even though Warren thinks there's a lot of money, not everyone knows, he knows the secret sauce there. So in a way, for the CFO, it's really about showing lifetime value of customer that, the metrics have to align with their key metrics that churn. So those customers that get high touch interaction, which we can pick up from our customer success platforms, those customers that have high NPS, are they staying with us longer? And once a CFO understands this, they're like, give me more of this. I understand customer experience. On the other hand, marketing is more interested in acquisition. And so they're like, yeah, customer experience is all good, but I need the new customer. And so for them, understanding the correlation between getting someone to a high NPS and them leaving a Google review, them bringing a referral in, they need to see that correlation. And they're like, wow, I get it. It's not just about Google ads. It's about delighting our customers. And these ones have left these many reviews. That's getting my flywheel moving, my agenda. And to CEOs, which is a really, I would say in the market, there's still only 20% of CEOs, 80-20 is still holding, that really get the power of investing in customer experience. They really want to know profitability. So the most profitable customers are the ones that love you the most, make the least noise, are bothering customer success the least, are asking for the least change requests, and if you can prove that out by just some simple metrics, that this customer is really high NPS, they don't keep contacting us in the contact center, and they're your most profitable. Just simply, they're like, give me more of this. So the summary is you really got to talk to them in their own language. You can't expect them to understand the metrics we're working with, but as soon as you can connect those two dots, they think they found the new, penicillin, and that's customer experience. They're like, yeah, we got it. Yeah, so it's a good chance to be the thought leader within your organization because it's a chance to get them to learn something new.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think often we forget that we are here for the customer. This is why this business exists.
Yeah, absolutely.
First, if that's okay. We've discussed a lot tonight the importance of gathering feedback. So how does your business incorporate the voice of the customer into your processes?
Yeah, good question. So you might see one of our core pillars in our company, we're a voice of customer company, is drink our own medicine. So we better be collecting a lot of customer feedback, and we do, especially our customer success team. So we have quite a unique way and a unique mechanism to collect relationship feedback because traditionally, customer feedback is done once a year or once a quarter at the same time for all customers. And imagine if our product teams have suddenly raised the price licensing fee and you go in and they run that NPS survey and the customers are not too happy or something bad has happened, tech has come down. So these externalities hit the customer experience metrics. So what we do, and our software also does auto sampling every week. So if you have 130 customers in your users, customers, all sorts of levels in a company, it goes out to 10 every week. So you get that heartbeat, that smoke detector on that account, and it allows you to see, okay, this week, because if one person in a company is feeling pain, then others in that company, in your user base, are feeling that pain, and you better be on top of it quickly rather than after a quarter when half of it is churned and you've got contractual issues. So we collect that every week across, but we don't bother the same person every week. Once a quarter, but we get a sample every week of the relationship. Then in onboarding we have very effective feedback mechanisms during different stages of onboarding. Even our sales team, after they have done a demo or they finished a big pitch presentation, they say, look, we drink our own medicine, we would love your feedback, and our managers would as well, because we want to be the most awesome sales team. So there's touch points on for sales, service, customer support, and we come together and say, which parts of this are our product, which parts of this are training. So it's a multi-touch point approach, but everyone in the company, this is a really important piece, has access to that on the portal. So even if you're an engineer, you can read feedback that is being given to our support team, and everyone owns it together, because we know engineers affect the frontline team. So it's really celebrated in that way. We have it up on a screen here. This screen is actually used for that. In our lunchrooms, feedback rolls in. So if you're having lunch, you can't avoid feedback, it's there. And you get to hear customer verbatim, which really gives you purpose, because there's a lot of happy customers saying great things, which an engineer or a back office person will never hear. So it's really about making sure it goes all the way in and out of an organization. So yeah, we're really led by feedback. Yeah.
I really love that. I think I was having a meeting this morning with my porting team, which I'm on voice, right? And so they make sure numbers get ported from one place to another. And I was saying, do you understand how much we need you, how much we value you? And they were like, no, they never with the customer in the way that we are. And it does take a whole team for everyone to feel like they're a part of the customer journey, and I love that. I think I want to be here one day in your lunchroom.
That's all right. I head up the customer team at PaidRight. We do payroll modelling. I have been living in a very, I would say, high-touch world, small number of very big customers, and I'm really curious to start looking at more like scale. And I think you guys have kind of just started to touch on some of the technologies you use. We all agree feedback is critical, but in terms of the different types of business, it's going to look really different. So touch on Slack, obviously, Jen Vocalizer, which I haven't heard of. Are there other technologies and kind of skill sets in terms of that analysis that you guys are seeing as being really useful or prevalent?
Obviously, we're a very rapid, large-scale customer feedback platform. But with that also is important to have a partnership, that you don't just throw a platform at someone and go, hope it works for you. So coming with that advice is really important, going which metric, which touch points, how are your teams going to use this? No one needs more data, but they need less data that is getting seen by more people. So making sure whichever platform you go with, you meet the team that is going to be with you implementing it, because no one needs another big heavyweight platform and a big licensing fee without any output. So yeah, that would be my 2 cents for that. And there's some really good ones. Obviously, check out Resonate. We work with very, very large companies, as big as BlueScope, and some really heavy lifters, and then small companies as well. So everyone's in the feedback. Everyone sort of understood that, we should be listening to our customers. So the penny has dropped, but there's many companies that are not listening to their customers still as well. So yeah.
It's Gemma. I'm a customer success manager with Jazz at Aircall, and my question was, we talked a lot about feedback as well, and I guess what are some of the processes that you've implemented to help win a customer back that's had some negative experience, whether that's been with a customer success or with the product itself?
Yeah, and I think those behavioral models are really important, especially usage. But one thing is, like, whenever a bad response comes in, I actually say to the team, that's a celebration in a way, because the customer is spitting the dummy. They want a relationship with you. So the worst case scenario is when they're just black holing you. That means it's not recoverable. You don't know what's happened. But if someone's taking the effort to type something nasty to you, that means they want something. They have this last hope with you that you're going to actually read this. Someone in your organization is going to read this, react, and just reacting to it or acknowledging it already. So already getting a really low score or getting a customer that's upset is not a bad moment. The bad moment is a silent customer who never talks to you, who isn't using the software. That customer is like blackholing you, ignoring you, or whatever. But a bad score is like, yep, they're finally giving me the attention, and now I'm going to solve something for them because they've told me what the problem is. So I think that's really important. Celebrate it if it comes through. It means they want to return to relationship.
Awesome. So I'm so curious, your last point around customers who are really noisy, completely agree. It's the customers that make no noise that are the ones that often will churn eventually. So I'm curious if you have a strategy for them, or do you just kind of write it off as attrition, and a certain percentage of the customers are just going to attrit and there's nothing we can do. What's that line for you?
Yeah, look, I never ever want to think that no customer is savable, because a customer is really hard to get, so you never want them to leave.
Yeah.
I think the strategy is if someone is silent, then look at whatever else you can in your data. If they're not giving you their words, they're giving you their behavior. So they're not using when was the last time they logged in, what are their teams doing around them. There's so much other data, especially if you're a tech company or any type of company, you've got a lot of behavioral data that's going to give you a clue around, well, you created a login for them, but they never activated it. Or maybe they're not confident to be trained, or they didn't really understand, or it went to junk. There's so much data available. So once, if it's silence, then we want to look into X-ray, what's happening at the back end, do the blood test, whatever you need to do. But if a patient is talking to you, the very first thing is, you're going to hear what they feel, and you're going to say, okay, I'm acknowledging that you do have these problems, but if they're just silent, you're resuscitating them. You've got to do all the tests in the back end and go, okay. And that gives you a lot of ideas. There's lots of playbooks around this, as to, well, this is the type of customer that actually we didn't onboard properly. They've never logged in. They probably have lost the login, and the invoice is coming every month for the SaaS, and they're like, what is this? I don't even know who you are. That's, there could be those types of customers,
Okay.
So first time logins, they used to log in and now they're bored, so maybe they don't know how to level up on the software, so different things.
So we've been talking a lot about data, and I guess it's about, I'm just wanting to understand where to start. I'm not a data scientist, yet I would like to be a data scientist. And I really want to understand the trends and stuff to be able to kind of be that point of difference within our region, and be the ones to say, yes, okay, we are on this massive scale with so many customers, but where can we map these trends? And I think I'm in a moment of, there is so much data. What is genuinely, where am I finding, crappy data to data that's actually going to be useful for us building that? So I guess I'm in a position of, where do I start? And would love any advice there.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. And if there's so much data, and I don't know if you want to be a data scientist, you're meeting the customer.
Yeah.
No, I just would like to have that skill. I don't want to be that role.
I think if there's so many data points that get used, metrics, but usage is a key metric no matter what. And I think of it, we're all Netflix users, right? Who has Netflix in their house? Everyone, right? Yeah. So Netflix is clever. So we pay the monthly subscription, and they can see how much Netflix we use. And if they raise their price by 10%, not many people can churn off Netflix, not because they want to or they don't want to. It's actively being used in their daily routines. It keeps the kids busy, it keeps the husband busy, it keeps me busy, it keeps everyone busy, it keeps the grandparents happy. So it's part of the usage. The day usage comes down, the value extraction comes down. At the end of the day, someone at the top decides to pay license money, or says we're going to pay, everyone needs this system. people using it go, I don't know if I believe in this, I don't know if I want to use it. And then eventually someone's going to say, well, no one in my team's using it. Just like me as a mum would say, no one's using Netflix in the house, so let's turn it off because it's just coming out, you know, we could rather pay the mortgage than pay for Netflix. So usage is the only, if there's one number, and watching those usage patterns. But when you overlay usage, you need to have the customer verbatim, because sometimes we want to know why people are using it, because that piece is missing. We say people use the gym because they want to get fit. So we see usage in a gym, but some people just want to socialize. So we want to know, are there multiple uses for the gym or not? And that's why having top end data, which is customer sentiment, together with usage gives you that, actually we thought our product was used for this, but some people are just using it to socialize, which is good enough, and that's why they only use it once a week, and that's good enough because it's meeting another need. So there's so much data points, but if you can look at usage and why they use it, you're pretty much, you don't need a data science degree. You can still get one and get paid a lot, and then just do these two metrics and you're done.
A secondary question on that, I guess, is, so you've found the data, you've got customers that have zero usage, and they've not had usage for a long time. When do you decide to poke the bear?
Straight away. Straight away. You're sitting on a ticking time bomb. And that's my view on it, because it's a matter of them reading their monthly bill, or like us reading our monthly bill. And if we have any subscription that we're not using, and that subscription comes to us at a point where we have another bill to pay, a school fees to pay, you're basically playing with fire. Someone's financial needs, and that's the same in a company, that if you're not being used and the CFO gets wind of it, he's onto it.
But do we just ride that gravy boat while we can?
I think we all, or you know, it's a tough conversation, because then you've got to confront the user that you're not using it, but you're paying for it. But you'd rather confront it than, you know, them going, that's it. So yeah, it's a tough one, because it's a very awkward conversation to have. But I think the teams that go in and say, well, this is how you can use it, at least they value that you tried. And even if they don't want to use it after that, well, that's just tough, right? But I think, you have to poke the bear, is my take on it.
Hi, I'm Olivia, Manager of Customer Success at One Advance. You mentioned a bit earlier, and I'm sorry if I misinterpreted or misheard you, that your quiet customers are your best customers. And I agree to a certain extent. They're perhaps just ticking along and they're happy enough. I generally don't encourage this with my team, because, and you also a moment ago said, no, if they're speaking to you, they're engaging. And I say to my team, if they're asking a lot of questions, it's great, they're wanting to utilise the platform. But we've got to be humble enough to know that just because they're paying their invoice, usage is there, and that they're quiet doesn't necessarily mean they're happy. When you're dealing with really large government enterprise customers who can't move overnight or say overnight, I'm done. So to that comment, if that was what you meant, how do you track that quiet profile and know that your quiet customer is your happiest customer?
Yeah, I think what I mentioned was that if they're quiet, they're not sending you complaints or hitting the help desk, but they are giving you some level of feedback, at least once a quarter, saying you're a 9 or 10. That's the only surety you have, because otherwise you're absolutely right. If they're quiet, they could just be stuck in a contract, or their boss could have made a decision, and they're poking the boss going, mate, when that renewal comes, take me off this or I'm out of here because I can't use it. It's too hard. Every meeting with the boss, I don't like using Salesforce, I don't like using this, or they just, the union is getting ready to get the contract out, which happens, right? The boss can love you, but if they don't like you, he has to live with them. And if they're not happy, he's like, nah, I love you, but I can't deal with my team not liking you. But coming back to it, quietness is not good unless you have some sort of a metric that's telling you that that quietness is happiness. So
Quiet with a 9 and a 10.
Yeah, with a 9 and a 10 has to be there. Because otherwise you know that they just disengaged and they're writing out that contract. So if you get but what my comment was that if you have 9s and 10s, they're generally quiet because they know how to use your product. they're giving you 9s and 10s, they know how to use your product and they're getting value from it, and so they're not bothering you as much. So their integrations have happened well, their onboardings have happened well, they're fully using the product, and that's why they don't need you anymore, like on a daily basis to help them. So yeah.
I mean, I've had the 9 and 10 situation, but it hasn't always resulted in still not churning.
Yeah.
And it is to factors outside of end users control and survey control.
Yeah.
I just wondered, was there actually more to what does the quiet successful profile look like?
Yeah, and I think comes back to Jazz's point, you need like
11
11,
stakeholders.
and in government it's very tricky. I mean, that there could be users that love you, but then the stakeholder doesn't love you because you didn't deliver to a revenue KPI. People are just mucking around with the platform, but they're like, you told me that there is ROI and there is no ROI.
Jazz, and this is coming back to 2 points that we talked about tonight. One was attrition, and the second one was that 11 points of contact. And we definitely see that at Salesforce. A lot of our customers are going through change, and that from a customer success perspective, as we're scaling it up, our levels and points of contact are changing, and we need to expand them. How do you provide different, but each level, whether it's the points of contact, the next level middle management, and then the CXO level, they each require different customer experience and how you present it to them, how they see value out of the platform, the messaging there. How do you provide different levels of that customer experience? And what are some tips and tricks on how to navigate those different conversations and put on different hats for different people?
It's a very tough question because the first answer I would give is they all have to have very different approaches, which makes it very, very hard for customer success teams. But the number one thing is the higher up it goes, the more proactive your approach has to be. So if you need to be contacting the decision maker for a new idea, a new value add, rather than them contacting you for something. If they're contacting you, you're in trouble. If they're thinking about you, if they're saying, why haven't we got this? Why? Because that's like a firebomb entering your, compound. So I always say inversely proportional, like the higher up, the more proactively you have to think of it. You can't be in reactive mode for senior because they're not going to be thinking about you and asking you a question. They're not thinking about you. So you have to be thinking about them. Whereas the users, you can be a little bit more reactive. They will raise a support ticket. They will ask you for a login. The CEO or the CMO won't ask you for a support ticket. They'll just be like, what? So you've got to think of them more often, and the users are thinking of you more often because you're in their face as a system. So more proactive thinking for the senior leaders and more reactive, because you can't be proactive with everyone. It's a good framework to have, I think.
If you could say one thing to the girl of the past, to the young girl that you were, if you could give her one piece of advice, what would it be?
I tell my team, and if I could tell my younger self, growth isn't linear, it happens in spurts. Even kids grow in spurts, they don't grow linearly. But also life is a little bit like snakes and ladders, if you've ever played that game. And careers are like that. Sometimes you hit a snake and you go backwards because you get a bad boss or you've made the wrong choice of company and you're going backwards at light speed and you feel like, oh my God, I've just gone so far backwards, I've hit, a bad moment, and you think you're going to stay there. And I always remind everyone that the board the board has snakes, but the board also has ladders. Sometimes you get so lucky that you get the best manager who gives you 3 career jumps. You get a company that's growing at rapid pace. You get those ESOPs. And the trick really is to keep playing. Because sometimes when we hit snakes, we think that's it, it's over. If you just play two more slots, you've just hit a ladder. And you're like, boom, I'm just suddenly ahead of everyone. And sometimes I don't even deserve it. I just got lucky. So the advice I would give myself is that keep playing. And every time you hit a snake, know there's a ladder around the corner and you're going to get an unfair advantage somewhere if you just keep playing. So yeah, I wish, I had that advice early on because I used to get upset when I go backwards. So,
And like bad situations make great interview stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.